Fios is not cable. We're wired differently, which means you can get the fastest internet available with equal upload and download speeds from 50 to 500 megs. So you can upload 200 photos before your favorite song is finished. Click the ad and switch to Fios today to get our best offer ever.
Blog Talk Radio.
The witnesses and everyone described that he pulled into at a high rate of speed and they heard squealing tires when the vehicle came to a stop. Justin immediately exited the vehicle. He seemed upset. His behavior was considered erratic by many of the witnesses. He would be yelling and screaming, "Oh my God, what have I done? My child is dead." And then he would stop, and he would just have a blank look on his face and just stand there. Justin took Cooper out to the car. He went into the back seat where the car seat was situated. It's a rear-facing car seat, so Cooper's head would be in between or almost in between the two front seats. He put Cooper in the vehicle. He stated he strapped him in tight, and Cooper gives him a kiss, and he gives him a kiss back. And he says he always gives him a kiss in case they get into a car accident and he dies. He wanted Cooper to, his last memory, or Cooper to remember that he'd been loved or that his daddy loved him.
Let's talk a little bit about his wife and the statements that she gave. When I assume she was supposed to show up at the daycare to pick up Cooper, correct?
Correct. She walked into the daycare. She walked back to Cooper's classroom where she ran into Michelle, and she asked, what are you doing here? And Leanna's like, well, I'm here to pick up Cooper. And, Ross never dropped Cooper off. And she's like, just got really calm. And she's like, well, I don't know what to do. They walked back out into the lobby, and in front of several witnesses, all of a sudden she states, Ross must have left him in the car. And they're like, what? There's no other reason. No other explanation, Ross must have left him in the car. And they try to console her, and they're like, no, there's 1,000 reasons. He could have taken him to lunch or something. We don't know yet. And she's like, no.
At some point, did you put the defendant and his wife in a room together?
I did.
When you did that, who was it that got emotional?
The father.
And could you tell the judge, what was he being emotional about? What was the main thing he was crying about or sobbing about or whatever he was doing?
It was all about him. I can't believe this is happening to me. I can't believe, this happened to me. Why am I being punished for this? And it continued. It was all very one-sided.
Did his wife ever say anything to him about what he said to police?
She asked him, she had him sit down, and he starts going through this, and she looks at him, she's like, well, did you say too much?
Did you uncover anything of what he was doing during that day while his child was out in the car?
Yes.
Okay. What did you uncover?
He was having up to 6 different conversations with different women. It appeared from the messages from Kik mostly, which is a messaging service.
And is that a computer-related messaging service?
It is.
And these conversations he was having with these females, were these, of what nature were they?
The most common term would be sexting.
Were photos being sent back and forth between these women and the defendant during this day while the child's out in the car?
Yes, there were photos of his exposed penis, erect penis being sent. There were also photos of women's breasts being sent back to him.
He talks about being a guitar player with this girl. She asked him about cheating on his wife. Did she ask him a question about his conscience?
She did.
What did she ask him?
She's who?
She's this other girl he is sexting with.
Thank you.
And she does.
Objection. That's no way relevant to anything.
Final question, he says, Mr. Kilgore. I'm going to allow a question and answer, and then we're moving on.
She says something to the effect of, do you have a conscience?
And what was his response?
Nope.
And good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us for King Jordan Radio, Season 5, Episode 5, here on October 6th, 2016. This is King Jordan you're listening to. Tonight on the program, as you just heard, we're going to go over the hot car death trial. We're going to go over the fight that led to a bloody mess in Baltimore in an NFL game last week. Also, we'll go over the Charlotte police shooting that went down, and with the renewed interest in Amanda Knox with the new Netflix take, we'll talk about her either guilt or innocence. Tonight on the program we have a veteran legal defense attorney, legal analyst. You can see him every day, Saturday in the 12 o'clock noon Eastern time slot. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the program the one, the only New York born and bred, Richard Herman. Good evening, Richard. How are you?
King Jordan, it's an honor and pleasure to be with you. I just heard Howard Stern has acknowledged you've exceeded his audience, and we're ready for you for Sirius Radio. We're going to put you on a live TV simulcast of your radio show. You deserve it. It's time. We got to make the move, bro.
And you will be a guest. Sure.
I love it. Absolutely.
Okay, so you heard at the top of the show of the hot car death trial that is going on as we speak in terms of the trial. What's your takeaway of this, and where do you think it's going to go?
Oh, this is not pretty. I mean, this is really bad. I mean, how do you? By the way, first of all, this hurricane is going to slam into Florida tonight. It's unbelievable what's going on. People in Central Florida and up around Melbourne and Daytona and Orlando are going to get hit pretty hard. So I think we should send our prayers out to these people. Category 4 storm. This is all those Outer Bank Islands. These people are going to get swamped. Anyway, and this election cycle is just insane. This in the history of the United States, we have never seen an election cycle like this. I think everyone, whether you're Republican, Democrat, whoever you are, November 8th, you're going to be happy that it's over, one way or the other, because I'm going to be very happy. It's disgusting. But this guy, let me give you the smoking gun in this death case, okay? You can't leave a child in a car with the windows up, and there's no excuse for that, and there's no I forgot. None of that's going to fly. You just can't. You can't do it. And the problem this guy faces is that, you know, he's a sex maniac, and he's on all these websites, and he's on the internet, and he's on these crazy sites, and he's on another site, Whisper, which I never even heard of, and this is where you tell secrets. And apparently his secret that he posted on the site was, I miss having time to myself, and I hate being married with kids. So at the end of the day, the jury's going to see this, and, you know, I don't even know how you can get an impartial juror in this case. I mean, can you be an impartial juror? The guy, this is what the case is about. He put his child in the backseat of the car, and the child burned up and died in the back of the car. Could you be impartial? Because I don't know anybody who could, really. And couple that with this guy's obsession with the online dating sites and with that Whisper site there. And I don't care what the defense is. The defense that I forgot, I didn't know, it won't fly for a dog, let alone a human being. So, you know, it's really bad for this guy, and he's going to go down in flames, and he should go down in flames. I mean, this is just a horrible, horrible tragedy. This poor young boy just, you know, baked in the car, and that's really what happened here. And there's just no excuse. He suffered. You know he suffered, and the jury is going to take it out on him. This is bad. This is really bad, Jordan. And I try to be creative, and I'm a defense attorney. And you know, some of your viewers. I mean, I know these beautiful ladies for a long time. We've been friends on Facebook, going back and forth, and some of them agree with me, some of them fight with me. But you know what? I try to be creative and come up with a defense. You know, I'm adjunct professor at Miami and Duke. I try to come up with a creative defense to a case, and on this one, I really can't. I mean, it's really bad, and I'm surprised that they didn't make a plea. They didn't try to resolve this case, and I'm sure that the offer was like, you know, life in prison, or I don't know if they're trying to go death penalty with him or not. But it's bad. It's really, really bad, and he is gonna fry on this one. He's going down.
And the fact that he was talking allegedly to those people, that makes it 10 times worse, obviously.
1,000 times worse. While his kid's
right.
in the car, he's sexting with 6 different women. I mean, come on, think about that. You're a juror. You're listening to the case. He says he forgot his kid in the. He's going to have to testify. By the way, I don't know how he.
Yeah.
I don't know how
no
any
choice,
chance
right.
that he would have. He's going to have to get up there and put on his holy roller thing and try to say that he's a very religious person. And I don't know. There's nowhere to go. There's no defense. There's really no defense. This is the kind of case that has to be plea bargain.
Insanity.
I'm surprised they haven't done it.
Yeah. Is it possible that prosecutors would reject a plea?
Not only could the prosecutor reject it, but the judge could reject it. And here, don't forget, it's a state case. Not like a federal case. It's a state case. And these prosecutors have to run for election. So can you imagine if they cut a deal for this guy and something less than life in prison, and the election comes around, and the adversary says, look at your district attorney. He cut a deal on this animal who baked his kid in the car. That's probably where it's being motivated. I'm sure the offer was life, and, for whatever reason, he had a defense attorney who said, I think we have a shot. And that's the problem. You think we have a shot, gives a defendant some hope that there's a chance. But there is no chance in this case. I don't care what he says. There is no chance.
Well, you would agree that there's always a shot. I mean, look at OJ and look at Casey Anthony. I know those are high-profile trials, but there's always
but
a lot of
but OJ had its own set of circumstances, had an incompetent judge and incompetent prosecution team, and Casey Anthony, just had a bad investigation, and had 2 prosecutors who lost their mind during a trial and turned off the jury bad, and but here you have competent people, and you have we know. I mean, he did it. We know he did it. There's no, like in OJ, it looks like he did it,
right.
And in Casey Anthony, it looks like she did it. Here, we know he did it. So, it takes, there's really, I mean, I'll come on the show and eat my hat if this guy gets anything less than convicted. So, I'm telling you, it's not good.
Amen to that. Okay, the Amanda Knox Netflix is talking about getting praised, and she's back in the spotlight. Let's hear this cut, and then we're talking about it on the other side.
Suddenly, I found myself tossed into this dark place.
I was so scared. I don't know what else to say.
Before Italy, I had a happy life. It was very important for me to get out of my comfort zone and see if that made me turn into an adult.
When I was with Amanda, I was so happy. What happened in the night?
Amanda Knox.
Did you kill her?
I mean, some of the information that came out was just completely made up. It made headlines all over the world. The trial of the decade. It was just crazy.
The whole world knew who I had ever had sex with.
She was terrified.
Amanda!
I felt like a child again. And I knew I was a kid.
Okay, Richard, I mean, a lot of people have opinions about this. She's very innocent or she's very guilty. What's your takeaway?
Well, my dear friend in Seattle there has worked very hard on this case, and
and
Yeah, Anne is just devoted almost her life to this case, and every time I watch her and listen to her, I hear her passion, and I know what she believes in her heart. Let me say a couple things about the case. We, as Americans, had a very difficult time understanding the procedure utilized in Italy for the trial of the case and the retrial and the appeals and everything, and it's just a very hard pill to swallow when we're brought up and we understand when you play, football, the field's 100 yards long, and, side to side is a certain distance, and all that stuff. But basically, Canadian football is different than American football. I mean, it's just different, different set of rules.
Definitely a different set of rules.
So basically, what's happened is it's a different set of rules, and you go to a trial, there's a verdict, then you take an appeal, then there's a retrial in the appeal level, which is insane. Then there's another appeal. Then there's a retrial on that level where more evidence is deduced. I mean, it's very frustrating. I will tell you this, okay? It's a tragic case. It is such a tragic case, and it was handled forensically horribly. And the prosecution had so many issues and corruption and everything under the sun there. But I will tell you, from what I saw on this trial, I have seen convictions in the United States with less evidence than they had against Amanda Knox in Italy. And having said that, I'm not so certain that she's innocent. That's all I'm trying to say. I don't know. I didn't watch the trial every single day, but from what I've read,
have you watched the documentary yet?
And I'm telling you, in my heart of hearts, and I've seen a lot of these cases, I'm just not so sure that she is so innocent.
Do you think maybe she knows something about it? Like she knows?
I think it's
what
more
happened?
than that. I think she's involved with it. I think that absolutely. It's my opinion. It's conjecture. It's speculation. Anne's going to kill me. She's going to hate me after this. But I'm just telling you, I've seen convictions come down. There's just a lot of coincidence here. And this young girl was just tortured and killed, and these two people were together, and I'm just not buying it. I'm telling you, I'm not buying the defense. I'm sorry. And she's
what
home.
That she came out with a book? Does that bother you?
Well, look, she's her life's turned upside down, and
True.
And by the way, I would not blame her for not going back when she was here and they had another trial there. I mean, oh my God, are you kidding me? I wouldn't have gone back either. But if she would have got convicted again down there, we have a treaty with Italy. We have a treaty, and they would have to extradite her and return her to Italy. And we covered that on CNN, and I think 100%. That they would have extradited her and brought her back, and we would have turned her over because we do have that treaty with Italy. But, look, she's home now. She's writing books. She's doing things. I'm sure maybe she'll be on Dancing with the Stars. And the beat, as the late great Sonny Bono once said, and the beat goes on. And, look, her life is going on right now. She got through it. Gotta have been a torture for her down there, sitting in those prisons. But if she did it, she got away with it. If she didn't do it, oh my God, the torture she went through.
If she did it, she still suffered for a good 3-4 years.
Yeah, and she knows in her heart of hearts if she did. She knows that.
Right. So I guess what I'm taking at you is. You don't know for sure, but part of you thinks maybe she did it, and part of you thinks there's a possibility she didn't do it.
I think she did it. No, I think she did it. I think she did it. And I'm sorry. And look, We don't want her to have done it. She's a good-looking woman. We want her home. She's an American citizen. We want her safe. We want all that. But there's a Karcher family, and that's their daughter who got killed there. And they're just too close. Knox and her boyfriend they're there, man. And there's a knife and there's blood and and they're there. And it's a problem. It's a real problem. It just didn't happen, And this one guy who's sitting in prison right now, he's probably the innocent one. And didn't have an attorney, or I don't know what happened. Something went really wrong with him. But I'm just.
You got to get a show with Ann Bremner now with you debating her. Hillary and Trump.
She'll start screaming at me, and I'll have to defer to her then because, she devoted her life to this, and she's certain that Knox is innocent, and she fought very hard to get her back here, and Ann should be commended for that. I mean, she really should be. But what can I say, brother? People have different opinions on what happened here, and people just don't die. Cats don't chase dogs, and people just don't die. And something went down here, and I think Knox, at a minimum, knows a hell of a lot more than we know she's said.
Well, God will be the ultimate judge at the end of the day, I believe, if she did it. But we'll see what happens with that. Okay, let's listen to this story about this NFL game where there was an assault and everything. Here's a cut, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Both of the New York men face first-degree assault charges and have posted bail. And we learned today that 28-year-old Scott Smith is a firefighter in Mount Vernon, New York, and he has been suspended pending this investigation. So what happened at Sunday's game that led to the Ravens fan Joseph Bauer being so critically injured? Court documents reveal that 31-year-old Andrew Nappy claimed that Bauer threw a bottle and struck Scott Smith after a verbal confrontation. Now, Bauer's wife stated that Nappy struck her husband and Smith shoved him to the ground, causing him to strike the back of his head. He was found laying unresponsive. Another independent witness, according to the documents at the game, gave the very same account as Bauer's wife. In a statement, the Ravens sent their sympathy to the victim and his family. Joseph Bauer remains in critical condition, but it's been reported that he did give a thumbs up today. Our affiliate in New York spoke with the Mount Vernon fire chief, who was shocked at the allegations and described Scott Smith as a great kid. Tonight, he and his friend are charged in a brutal attack that in a matter of minutes drastically changed the lives of everyone involved. Live in the studio, Deborah Weiner, WBAL, TV 11 News.
Deborah, thank you.
Richard Herman, what's your takeaway with this?
It's bad. It's good that the guy gave a thumbs up because they'd be looking at manslaughter charges. If not, it's really sporting events are just people go there, they get hammered, they get drunk, they get crazed. They're so loyal to their team. You see the baseball game the other day? A guy threw the can in center field, almost hit the center fielder. You know. And then you had that case in Los Angeles at the Dodger game or wherever, where the guy got beaten to a
that was Toronto,
coma.
I believe, right? Wasn't that?
Yeah,
was that Toronto?
Yeah. No, that was when they threw the bottle. But you had the case, I guess, a couple of years ago in Los Angeles, where the kid got
somebody,
beat into a coma. I mean, people. I mean, and we're all Giant fans here, and we're fiercely loyal to the Giants. But how far does it go? Red Sox, Yankees. Okay, man, I have friends up watching the Yankees play in Boston, when the Yankees were good. That's a long time ago, it seems. But it got kind of brutal up there, and there was fights and everything. It's just, it's almost. I'm sorry to say, but it's almost an assumption of the risk. You walk into a ballpark, and there's going to be, you walk into Philadelphia, go to an Eagle game, and you start wearing New York stuff or another team in the division, you're going to get assaulted verbally at a minimum, and it can go from there. It's not right, and at the end of the day, the stadium has the obligation to have security and protect the people that are coming to watch the game. I mean, we went to one game at the new Giants Stadium when they were playing the Eagles, and we had some pretty good seats, but I'll tell you the truth. I mean, it was vile. We were sitting on the Eagles sideline, and it was just vile what was going on there. You know, and I had kids with me, and it was just embarrassing.
Oh, really?
Almost to the point where I had to leave. So where do you do? Where do you draw the line? And is there a line when you go to these games? I mean, you can't. It's not like in the 50s or the early 60s where you'd go to a nice game. It's just not like that anymore. They're crazy people who go to these sporting events, and when you're serving alcohol there, that just multiplies it. It really does. And if you start serving cans of beer, or even the beer that they serve, it's in those tall glasses, and it gets hot out.
Yes.
You start throwing down 3, 4, 5 of those, you're going to get hammered. I don't care who you are. You're going to get hammered. And then once you get hammered, you know what takes over. You're a tough guy, and, every little thing you react to, and it's just a tragedy. And I know people who, one of my very dear friends was on the Mount Vernon Fire Department. He was just a wonderful, wonderful guy and an absolute gentleman. And so I'm sure that they're shocked that these allegations are being made against this guy. But look, again, you get put in that environment, and you don't know if he was drinking or he's on drugs or if he's just reacting to someone criticizing his team, where he's going to, take over and get violent. And if you do that, you got to be punished, because we're not going to tolerate that. We like to think we're a civilized society. I'm not going to tolerate it. You can't do it. That's why we have laws.
How about
we have
after
rules
the
and regulations.
second period, no serving beer?
Yeah, something. People sneak it in. They sneak it in. They can do all the checks they want when you walk in the ballpark, but people are bringing stuff in with them. And you try to turn off beer in the first half and see what happens. People go crazy. But maybe the second half, you just have it for the first half and shut it down the second half. I don't know. It's big bucks. Go to the ballparks and look at the banners up, okay? Look who's advertising in the ballparks. That should tell you how much money's involved in the the beer. Come on. Just a tragedy, though.
Well,
with what? The Giants are disgusting. The Giants are horrible. The Giants are the biggest disappointment I've had in years. I thought this was a team that could do something. The Jets are horrible, too, and they got to get rid of the quarterback. He's done. You can't throw 8 interceptions in 2 weeks. He's done. Bring Gino in. It's over. And both coaches should be fired too. They don't know what they're doing. It's just tragic. It's tragedy. It's tragedy in New York. It's just horrible what's going on in New York sports. Just horrible.
Yeah, the Mets yesterday.
The Mets, they had no offense. They had nothing. Okay, this guy's a great pitcher. I understand that. But, we open innings with a double. Guy's on second base. You can't even bunt him over. You can't do anything. There's no life at the bat at all. Come on. This guy for the Mets pitched his guts out for them. He pitched so good. What do you have? 12, 13 strikeouts? He was unbelievable. And they just couldn't. He can't hit this Baumgartner. I never seen anything like it. Just can't hit this guy.
Yeah, and
the Met
Cubs.
closer comes in and they jack him out, 3-run homer. So, that's it. Season over.
Yeah.
Good luck. Maybe next year.
Unreal. It'll be interesting, though, to see if the Cubs make it. I don't know if you noticed it, but they haven't won a World Series in 108 years.
It's so bad that Yankee fans, that anybody around is rooting for the Cubs right now. And it's almost better that the Giants are going to play them, because the Cubs own the Giants in the series this year. The Mets beat the Cubs in the series, so the Mets would have probably played them tougher. Yeah. But I'm kind of glad the Giants are going to play him, and I just, and this Baumgarten can only pitch one game, so that's good too. And let the Cubs, please let them win one. They need it bad. Remember that one game where there was a foul ball and the guy reached over and messed the play up?
The leader of the state, right?
Oh my God.
Yes, 2003. Yes. Oh my. I wanted to get your take also on Anthony Weiner. I didn't bring it up, but I didn't have you on since his latest allegations. What do you think is going to happen with him?
He's done. He's finished. He's finished as a politician. He's finished as a man to be respected. He's finished as a man who someone might listen to. He's finished as a husband. He's finished as everything. He destroyed himself. This is a sex-addicted, crazed lunatic who couldn't admit that he had a problem and then deal with it. You know, if you're an alcoholic, the first step is, if you want to get better, you have to admit that you have the problem, and then you go seek the treatment. This guy couldn't admit it, and he got a lot of chances, and he just continued on.
A 15-year-old girl.
I mean, you know, if you do, I had a case in the Hamptons like this, where there was the girl was 13 years old, and the guy was 18, and they were sending messages back and forth. Each time you send a message, it's a felony. So, you know, if truly have that, if they have that on him, and the girl was truly underage, 15 or under, this Weiner, you know, he can go to prison on this one. This is bad. This is bad. Yes. And they prosecute these. These are Can you imagine I had this in the Hamptons, a very conservative jurisdiction, where this young girl, the mother of the girl saw her cell phone and took her by the hair down to the police station and then called the police every single day. What are you doing? What are you doing? And I'm in there trying to defend this guy because I knew his family really well, and I just wanted to make sure he didn't rape her. You know, I was worried that he raped her. I mean, I was trying to figure that whole thing out.
Right.
But he wasn't charged with rape, thank God, and thank God he didn't. But, you know, this was getting there. I mean, it was getting there. Had this thing continued on a little longer, I'm sure they, you know, the two of them would have had sex. So this is how it begins. This is, it's just bad, you know. It's just bad. And Weiner, no excuse, no defense, no excuse. Take the pencil, turn it upside down, take the eraser, and just erase his name because he's done. He's finished. He can't come back. It's over with him. Over.
Also, I wanted to get your take, Trump or Hillary?
Well, you know, it's...
in about a month.
People are frustrated in the United States, and people are frustrated, and people honestly do not give Obama any credit for what the guy's done in 8 years. They're looking at a lot of rhetoric, and you know, and the guy has to be judged objectively what he's done for the country and what he inherited from George Bush, did with that, and where he stands today, and what he's done with the economy. And the reality is, you know, he's turned the economy around. It's not where everybody wants it. There are problems. There's problems in Obamacare, absolutely. Is he great in foreign affairs? No, he's not. Did he cause all the problems in the Middle East? No way. Every president for the last 60 years has been dealing with the Middle East. It's not him. But the point is this, and Hillary has got such baggage that she has got more baggage than Kennedy Airport. I mean, she is just unbelievable how she couldn't get cleaned up to run for president this time. And the email thing, and not that I think anything happened with the email, but just the mere fact that she walked around with a personal server in her house when she's Secretary of State. How do you do that? How does Bill Clinton let her do that? Who's guiding these people? Do they give a shit about anybody? How do you conduct yourself like this? I don't know. The whole Benghazi thing was blown out of proportion by the Republicans. She sat through endless hours and hours of grilling. There was nothing there. There was more in the Benghazi investigation than there was in the 9/11 investigation. Okay, that's how preposterous that whole thing was. And if you saw that movie, you tell me, what were we doing in Benghazi? What What chance did we have to protect these guys if we didn't send in there 50 battalions to try to protect that little compound? I mean, it was out there naked in the middle of hostile area. Cars are coming by every day, setting GPS coordinates. What are we doing there to begin with? You know, and who makes that call? I don't, you know, it probably stops with the president for that. But, you know, to blame her for that is absurd. But the point is that, yeah, she's got a lot of problems, and she's got a lot of baggage. And with all her problems and with all her baggage, he's batshit crazy. That's the problem. He's nuts. He's nuts.
Yeah.
And you can't vote for him. You just can't. You can't do it. He's out of control. And you can't have a president out of control. You just can't do it. And we're going to make America great again. America is great. You don't need to make it great again, number one. You didn't make Atlantic City great again. You went bankrupt in hotels. And who goes bankrupt with gaming? I don't know, Donald Trump. You can't build your whole premise on being a brilliant businessman and then it gets exposed that you had $1 billion loss. That's not a brilliant businessman, you know. Bill Gates doesn't have $1 billion loss. And I don't care that he didn't pay taxes. If he had that loss, he deserved the write-off. That's not the problem. That's not the issue, whether he paid taxes or not. If legitimately he had that business loss, he's entitled to a tax loss carry forward, and he's entitled to the write-off. Those are the tax laws, and he deserves to have that write-off. But how'd you have the loss to begin with? Did you make in business to give you that kind of loss? And what mistakes did you make with your airline and with your steaks and with all the stuff you've done and with your garments that are being made overseas? And what's the wall situation? I'm going to build the wall. His whole premise, I'm going to build the wall. And nobody's pressing him on it. His position is to deport anyone and everyone that's here illegally. That means all of them. That means a mass deportation. He was all over the place on that. And people that are listening who are pulling for Trump, ask yourself, what is his plan? His plan, he says it crystal clear to me over and over again. If you're here illegally, you must go and then try to come back legally. That's his plan. That means 8 million people have to be deported at a minimum. Maybe 12 million, maybe 15 million, I don't know. Not just the bad ones, all of them, because they're all here illegally. And that's his position. And it's just untenuous. It's not tenuous. It's just, he's nuts. The guy gets on Twitter at 3 in the morning. Who does? You can't. It's the President of the United States of America, okay? That's what we're talking about. So at the end of the day, we'll see how stupid this country is. But you can't win if you don't have the women vote. You can't win if you don't have the black vote. You can't win if you don't have the Hispanic vote. You can't win without winning Florida and Pennsylvania and Ohio. You have to win those states. And if he wins those states, he deserves to be president. That's how it is. He's been so demeaning and so with his name calling. It reminded me when I was in elementary school, you know? I mean, it's just not – the president of the United States doesn't conduct himself this way. And the Reagan family went up in arms today saying, do not invoke our name. Ronald Reagan never would have supported you, and Nancy would have voted for Hillary. And then you have 30 former senators and congressmen, Republicans, who are saying they're voting for Hillary. And you've had this before, and you've had military leaders. There's a reason they're doing this, because he's incompetent. That's the problem. He's incompetent, and he'll just explode. That Saturday Night Live skit was spectacular. He'll implode again on the next one. He's going to implode on that. He cannot control himself, and he's just a brilliant entertainer. The Apprentice, fantastic show. He licenses his name all over the place. Just because you see Trump doesn't mean it's him. He licenses his name everywhere. He's built a lot of stuff in New York City along with his father in Queens, and they've done a lot of nice things in New York. But at the end of the day, we're talking President of the United States, and the Republican Party has no one to blame but themselves to put themselves in this position. Because if they ran a guy like Mitt Romney right now, or someone else who was semi-sane, they'd beat Hillary. Right. Okay, she's beatable.
That's a good point.
She's beatable.
That's a very
but
good
they
point.
didn't.
Very
they
well
went with
said.
this guy.
Yes.
They went with this guy. So this is what they get what they deserve. I'm sorry. And you know, and I'm from New York, but I'm an independent, and you're going to think I'm a bleeding liberal, and I'm not. I'm an independent, and I go with who I think is the best candidate. And the preposterous between the lunatic in New Jersey who is going to get exposed on this Bridgegate. You know, it's just a matter of time. This guy is like Mussolini. He knew everything that's going on in the state of New Jersey. He had to have known what was going on with the bridge. He's going to get exposed, and you know, it's just. I don't know. It's just out of control. And I watch Rudy Giuliani, and you got to remember, if you can, when Rudy Giuliani was mayor of New York at the end.
Right.
I mean, at the end, he was getting banished from New York. He was hated. People despised Rudy Giuliani at the end. He was so hated. He was being thrown out on his ass. He was hated. And 9/11 saved him, and he was brilliant during 9/11, and everybody was just, Rudy, lead us on, brother. Be strong, and let's get through this, you know. And he was great in 9/11. He's made a career of it. But watching him as a surrogate for Trump, he really looks like he belongs in Bellevue. He's out of control. He's spitting. He looks like a lunatic. He's saying crazy shit, and he's just out of control. He's out of control. And you know, really lost his mind, Rudy, and has no memory and blames Obama for 9/11. You know, he just, I mean, Bush was president, blaming Obama. I mean, he's just all over the place.
You
and
blame
it's not
Obama. That's not fair.
Yeah, he's not doing Trump a service, really, having him rant and rave for him. And these other ones, like Ryan now, who's going to campaign for Trump this weekend, there's going to be a price to pay for that at the end of the day. I think Hillary's going to win. I don't think Trump can win. And if she does, these Republicans that did not have any integrity and did not stand up now, they're going to pay the price. They're going to pay the price for this because, you know, Trump is I just cannot believe he's going to win this election. I just can't believe it. But, look, crazier things have happened.
Good thing is we wanted to hear about him in about a month or so.
Yeah.
So that'll be
Thank
good.
God it'll be over. It's so embarrassing. The whole thing is so, as American, the whole thing is embarrassing. Every day.
Well said. Okay, let's talk about the Charlotte shooting. Here's a cut, and we'll talk about it.
Just want to clear one thing up, too, for our viewers, because sometimes when we hear officer-involved shooting, no one's really sure how to quite understand that. Even people we interviewed weren't really sure what that meant. You have an officer, you have officer is okay, you have a suspect who was shot, and the suspect died at the hospital. So I just want our viewers to understand that going into this. Now, if you take a look at the scene behind me, here's a live look, and we also have some video to show you guys. This is what went down here. Basically, police, CMPD were here. They were looking to search to serve a warrant to someone that was in this apartment complex behind us. That's when they encountered someone in a vehicle with a weapon. That person got out of the vehicle allegedly, then got back in, then got out a second time and pointed the weapon, used a threatening manner with that weapon towards officers, and of course that's when shots were opened up. We did get a chance to speak with people who say they are family members. They say that this person was in the vehicle waiting for his son to get home from school. So there's definitely two sides to this story. We also had people come out, family members, and they made statements claiming that all white people are the devil. Ultimately, the outside authorities are investigating too, because this is going to take a lot more to get to the bottom of what exactly went down here today.
Okay, Richard, you've been following this one. What's your takeaway?
Well, you know, when I used to do Nancy Grace's show, and I guess she's shutting the show down pretty soon, they would always say bombshell. You open, there's a bombshell. There's a bombshell.
Right.
Here's a bombshell, okay? Here's a bombshell for all your listeners and for everybody in the United States. Here's your bombshell, how to prevent these police shootings, okay? It's very, very simple. If a police officer gives you a command, follow it. That's as simple as it can be. If an officer says sit down, sit down. If an officer says put your hands behind your head, put them behind your head. If the officer says drop the gun, drop the gun. It's simple. It's so simple. If you don't do that, if you want to have an argument with the police officer, if you want to have a negotiation with them, if you want to ignore what they're saying to you, it's not going to end good. Now, there are plenty of bad cops out there, okay? There's plenty of incredible police officers out there. But there's bad eggs in everything, lawyers, doctors, everything.
Everything in the world, right.
Some police officers, so if you're involved in a bad situation with a police officer, you'll have an opportunity to bring charges against that police officer afterwards. But it's like if a football coach says, give me 10 push-ups, what are you going to say? Come on, coach, let me give only 2. You're going to get your head taken off. It's not negotiable. And we charge the police with protecting the community and the citizens in the community. That's what their charge is. But they're also charged with protecting their own lives. And if a person is in front of them with a gun, and it looks like a real gun, in other words, there's no orange cap on it, and it looks like a real one, and an officer gives you a command to drop the gun, and that's what happened in this case. And you could hear on the videotape them screaming at this guy, drop the gun, drop the gun. And then you hear his wife yelling, don't you do that, to him, not to the police, to him, don't you do that. And next thing you know, he gets shot, and he gets shot by a black police officer, who felt threatened. Once that happens, the shooting, there's going to be no charges against the police officer, because anytime someone has a gun and a police officer shoots him, there's an automatic defense. It's over. And you can't push a prosecution in a case like that, because you're going to end up like you did with Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin. You force it when they're not ready to do it, or you command them to bring the prosecution, and then you get obliterated. And the test, it's civil and criminal. The test, the standard, is what was the perception of the police officer at that moment. That's the issue for a judge or for the jury. What was that perception? And that's it. You don't have the luxury of retrospect, looking back and saying you shouldn't have shot him. You should have tased him, or you should have retreated, or you should have done something else. No. A police officer's gun is drawn. They're giving commands to this guy, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun. He doesn't drop the gun, and this officer felt like he made a move towards him, so he shot him. That's it. It's plain and simple. The bombshell. Listen to the command of the police officer. This kid we read about a couple weeks ago, 13-year-old kid, had a fake gun in his waist, and the police were chasing him as an armed robbery suspect. And when they get close to him, apprehending him, he reaches in his waist and he pulls out this gun, this fake gun that doesn't have an orange cap on it, and he pulls it on the police officer so they shoot him. He's 13 years old. What's he doing with a fake gun in his waist to begin with? Probably no good. True. And what's he doing reaching in? Thug life? He thinks it's a cool thing that he's going to put a fake gun on a police officer? You're going to get shot. That's just how it is. If you don't listen to a command from a police officer, it's not going to end good. And it's
and that goes
tragedy.
To everybody.
It's a tragedy, and I don't care if you're white, you're black, you're red, you're yellow, you're Bruce Jenner, whoever you are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you are given a command by a police officer and you disobey it. It's not going to end pretty. And I don't know what the problem. Do I have to go marching in these communities and prophesize this and tell people? They know it. They know it. Yeah. But they want to fight with these officers. It's not a negotiation. And this is what happens. And it's going to continue to happen when these guys think they're tough guys, or, they think that who they are. It's the thug life.
But you would agree that not all officers are good apples, right?
No. There are some bad ones, and I saw one shooting where a guy turned his back and the police officer just loaded up his back, and, that guy's charged with murder. So, that's what happens. Right. You get charged with murder if you do that as a police officer. But, with the invent of all the cell phones and all the video out there, we never had that. So you have it now. Some of the angles are not 100%, and they don't tell the whole story, but they certainly tell a lot of the story. And you saw a case a couple weeks ago where the female police officer shot, and she's been charged with manslaughter. I mean, if there are bad police officers, and there are. I mean, there are. And look, some of these officers are young people just out of the academy. They're there. They're walking the streets. Police officers are sitting in their cars and getting shot. And You look what happened in Baton Rouge with the police officers and Texas. They're trying to, it's not easy. It's not easy. And what would you do under those circumstances if you were a police officer and you were yelling at a guy? You don't know what's going on with him. You don't know.
Especially in the heat of the situation,
you don't even
right?
know. You don't know that he's a convicted felon. You don't know that he did 9 years in prison. You don't even know that this guy had assault with a deadly weapon and he got charged with possessing an unlicensed firearm. You don't even know any of that. You're going into a community to serve a warrant, and you come across this guy flashing a gun, and that's what stops you. And so you say to him, put the gun down, and he doesn't. Just think that day when those officers went to that area, they were going to serve a warrant. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less. And now they come across this guy sitting in the car. Now, he's got some brain issues. I mean, he was in bad shape about a year ago, and he's got some residual for that. But don't come back and say he had a Bible in his hand or he had a book in his hand when the police officers are screaming at him, put the gun down. These officers are not looking just to shoot people. Come on. If you believe that, then, we can't have a conversation. I mean,
right.
This guy had a gun in his hand, and that's why they were yelling at him. And if he only had a book in his hand, they would have gone and served the warrant and left. Just wasn't like that. Didn't happen like that. It's like Ferguson, hands up, don't shoot. It's all bullshit. It's lies and make stuff up. Think that people want to see that.
Yeah, the Ferguson, I was never crazy about that situation.
It never happened.
Never.
The guy never said that, never did that, it never happened. So, it's people that don't know what happened. His family members are saying he had a book in his hand. They weren't there. They didn't see it. They're not eyewitnesses.
I'll stand by is Eric Gardner is the one that think something.
Eric Garner in New York was tragic. This guy,
yes.
They know him. He's there every day. They know that he's a little messed up.
Selling Lucy's.
They tell him, look, Eric, move on or get out of here. Stop selling these things. And, that was bad. I mean, that was a bad situation. I think they could have reacted differently there. They didn't have to choke him out. But this, again, it's a big man who disobeyed a police directive. He disobeyed the police. And, again, it sounds crazy. Oh, really? So we should listen to everything the police say? Yes. Yes.
You have to.
You have to. You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. And if you don't, you're going to have a problem. And it's not going to end pretty, especially if you're a young black man. It's not going to end pretty because you're going to get shot. And that's the reality of it.
What do you think of these athletes like Colin Kaepernick not standing for the national anthem? And then he's saying, what he's saying, obviously.
He has every right to protest, and for a guy that's making $18 million who's a bum who can't play football anymore and hasn't been able to play for a few years, it seems to me if he really wanted to make a difference, he could peel off a couple million, donate it to the right causes or try to bring
Well, he did donate
change.
$1 million, I think.
Okay, but if he wants to sit during the national anthem, I as an American citizen, he has a right to protest, but as an American citizen, I have a right to criticize him. And I think he's a bum, and I think it's in poor taste, and I think that, people hear the national anthem, and in their mind, they think of servicemen, and they think of the men and women that are protecting them and, going overseas, 18, 19-year-old men and women, and putting a gun in their hands and fighting and protecting the United States and serving the United States. And that's what comes to mind to so many people, and maybe that shouldn't come to mind, but it does. So when you take a knee, it shows disrespect to the servicemen and women of the United States. Now, that may be a bad interpretation of it, but that's the reality of it. That's what people think. So when you take a knee during the national anthem, that's disrespect to our military. Now, if you have the right to do that, and I'm not saying he doesn't have the right to do that, but we have a right to criticize him if we want to criticize him, and I do. And if you know, it's just that you go strap a gun on and go over. You go to Afghanistan right now, where we are. You know, you go to Iraq right now. You go to Syria right now. See how it is. You're a tough guy. So I think it's disrespectful. I don't think it serves the purpose. It doesn't expand the conversation. The conversation was taking place anyway, and I think there's other and better ways to do it. He's nothing. He's a bum. He's not a good athlete anymore. He's not a good quarterback. He can't throw the football anymore, and his day is come and gone. You know, so this is a way to get publicity for him too. I don't know. Maybe that could be part of his motivation. I would like to think not.
Think about it. Nobody,
who knows?
Before this started, nobody was saying a word about him.
Yeah.
I mean,
like
these
actresses that their careers are over with, you know, they're nothing, and then, you know, next thing you know, someone takes a picture of them getting out of a car half naked, and there they are back in the news, you know, or they're walking and their dress falls off, so all of a sudden, they're back in the news, or they get, you know,
bad news is good news.
They get a ring stolen off of them while they're in Paris, France. Back in the news now. I think that's a fishy story, by the way. I think that's very fishy. They got to look into that one. That could be bad. I don't believe it, and I want to see more on that one.
Let's say
I'm
hello
not a fan.
to our friend is Mary. She is on hold here. Let's bring her into the conversation. She's on Jordan Radio. Good evening, Mary. You're live with Richard Herman on King Jordan Radio.
Guys. Hi, Jordan, and hi, Richard.
Hey, Mary.
Hi, Mary.
You guys talked about everything.
Yeah, we got everything covered tonight.
I know. I enjoy listening to you, Richard, again. And I have a solution for this. You know, I'm going to write your name in as a write-in.
I have too much baggage. I can't do it. I'm sorry.
I'm not voting for either one of them. And I know they say, oh, you should vote. But I'm not voting for either one of them. I don't know.
There you go.
But anyway,
it's very frustrating. Very frustrating.
On the Harris case, I noticed that you said he has to take the stand. Do you mean that because there's no saving grace, or
yes.
because he's not saying self-defense like he has to take it? I mean, I don't see how he's gonna. He has to explain his actions to the jury and try to get sympathy, because the way the case is coming in, there's no sympathy for him, and there's not going to be. It's over. So he's going to have to get up there and get one or two jurors to fall in love with him and sympathize with him. You know, that it was a mistake and I didn't mean to do it, and I love my child beyond belief, and you know, it was, I every day I live with this, and I can't get up and I can't go to sleep. It's just on my mind totally, and you know, I love my little boy, and I would never do this to him. And yeah, I played around on these sites, but that was just role playing. It's not how I really am in life. I'm a good church-going man, and you know, I believe in Jesus, and I pray every day, and you know, and all this. He's going to have to do that, and hope one or two jurors go his way, because otherwise, it's not going to be good. Yeah. And I caught one inconsistency watching the trial. I don't know if it's a big deal. No one else has mentioned it, but when he was first when they were asking him there during the scene what happened, and someone asked him about his son, and he said that his son had eaten at home. Did you know that he actually said that first?
Yeah, I mean, he's got so many problems. So many problems. Yeah. He's going to have to testify. Believe me. Trust me on this one. He's going to have to get up there and, you know, beg and plead with the jury that, this was just a horrible, horrible mistake, and please, spare his life, forgive him for it, show forgiveness.
The only thing, though, Richard, is that there's so many cases that are happening now. The other day it was a police officer and then a fireman. There's a lot of people forgetting their kids in the cars, which is ridiculous. I don't see how you could, but
it's right. It's indefensible.
Everything else that he was doing, he definitely had his mind on his kid.
No, he had his mind on the 6 girls he was sexting. That's where his mind was.
Yeah, and that Weiner guy, he's he looks like a wiener.
It's an odd name.
Oh my God, it fits him. He's definitely done. I agree with you on that. And anyway, I just wanted to say hi. Just wanted to chat.
Thank you so much for listening and for calling in. That's wonderful.
I really enjoyed listening to you. And I thank Jordan for having your radio, and you deserve a bigger audience, like Richard was saying.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that, Mary. Thanks for doing everything you do.
Have a good evening.
We appreciate it.
Bye.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. So, Richard, so that's the story in the news. What about that cop in Tulsa? What's your take on that before we go?
What's that?
Did you hear about that cop in Tulsa? I think she's being charged. You haven't heard this story.
The woman cop was being charged. She's being charged with manslaughter. That's what happens, and she's going to put her defense in that she feared for her life, and you're going to see video of the guy not struggling and not giving her any reason to fear for her life, and the juror's going to weigh it out. Looks like she's going to get convicted on that one.
You think she'll be convicted when it's all said and done?
An involuntary manslaughter. I mean, this something's going to, they charged her, so people are upset on that one, and I don't know that she's got too much of a defensible case, to be honest with you. It looked like the guy was under control and not giving her any reason to fear for imminent death or imminent bodily harm. That's the standard. At the time of the shooting, what was in the mind of the police officer? Did they have a reasonable fear for their life? Did they fear that they were in grave bodily harm? Did they fear that they were going to be assaulted? Did they fear, what was in there? Why did they shoot? And if they can't articulate that and the facts don't support that, she's going to get convicted.
It's very crazy, and I'm just reading now that they were doing a documentary / film on Jeffrey Dahmer. Oh my!
Yeah, that's scary stuff, man. Don't look at that at night and try to go to sleep. That's very scary. That's scary stuff.
Yes, indeed.
That's really bad mental illness there, boy.
Yes. So, who's your World Series participant? You don't have to give me the winner. Just who do you think's going to be in it when it's all said and done?
I want the Cubs. I'm pulling for the Cubs. 100 years is insane. Chicago, I know they have a great football team there, so they deserve to have a good baseball team too. And, no, the Bears are horrible.
108 years.
They deserve this, the Cubs. The Cubs, everyone should get behind the Cubs and pull for them. They really, that's a long time to go without a world championship. So, and then next year the Yankees can come back and win it.
That poor baseball player who was killed last week. What was your thoughts on that?
Oh my God! Even the Miami Hurricanes put stuff on their helmets for him. I mean, it is just, boating is dangerous stuff. You get on a boat, you better know what you're doing and have some safety plans.
At 3 a.m, 70 miles an hour, though. That's really good to do that, but
crazy, crazy. People are out of control.
Yeah.
What can I tell you, Jordan? We'll have some good stuff. We'll watch this election. We'll keep our eye on the election, and we'll keep watching these police officers and these kids that are out of control, and hopefully we'll have a semblance of control out there. and peace. That's what we want to wish everybody for the new year and for everything. Good health, happiness, and peace.
And, of course, our friend Madeline is listening. Let's say hello to her.
Absolutely. The whole crew. They're wonderful. They're just wonderful.
Yes. Pager, all of them. So we'll give them a shout-out right now. And thanks for giving us a very informative program. Really
Jordan,
appreciate
thank you. Anytime, brother. Love you. You're doing such a great job. Keep in touch with me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care, Richard. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was the one and only Richard Herman. As you heard, shout out to the Madeline, Pager, Vicky, Sharon, Mary, who else do we have? Sarah, we didn't call in today, but we give her a shout out nonetheless. A very good program by the one and only Richard Herman. Now, I am working to get Alan Duke on in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. I don't have a guest lined up at the current, as we speak right now. But if you guys heard of Alan Duke, you might have saw him on the Nancy Grace show. So we're trying to get him on that. And it's looks like this guy, like the hard Justin Ross, he doesn't have a prayer. And Richard Herman, as he said, is very good at, at least coming up something for defense. Seems like this guy is going down. Catch us every Thursday at this time. We'll speak to you next Thursday. Thanks so much.
Fios is not cable. We're wired differently, which means you can get the fastest internet available with equal upload and download speeds from 50 to 500 megs. So you can upload 200 photos before your favorite song is finished. Click the ad and switch to Fios today to get our best offer ever.